Good morning, Patriots. Welcome to the 333rd consecutive Friday meeting of the East Valley Red Friday Patriots, the Triple Three. You know, it's truly great to see all those red shirts present this morning, and there's no question that this group has an impact on the support of our deployed warfighters, and we tremendously appreciate your dedicated patriotism by being here each and every Friday. Thank you, thank you. You know, from the very beginning of this Red Friday Patriots group, there's been an unwritten rule about our not discussing three topics, those being politics, religion, and sex. Well, I've been quite faithful in observing that rule here at Red Friday, at least on two of those topics, politics and religion. But I'll be the first to admit that I've let the topic of sex slip through the crack on occasion, and you'll have to forgive me for that. It just comes natural for an old salty veteran like me. But here the other day, I was thinking about a conversation that took place one morning years ago at my battalion headquarters, and I thought I'd share that story with you today, even though it's in violation of our unwritten rule. You see, my battalion commander, a lieutenant colonel, was about to start a morning briefing with his staff, and while waiting for the coffee machine to finish brewing, the colonel decided to pose a question to the few of us that were standing around the coffee pot in the mess hall. And the colonel explained that his wife had been a bit frisky the night before, and he failed to get his usual amount of sound sleep, so he posed the question of just how much sex was work and how much of it was pleasure. Well, our staff S3 operations officer, a major, he chimed in with 75%, 25% in favor of work. Then a captain serving as the battalion's S4 logistics officer said it was 50-50. The captain was followed by a lieutenant who was assigned to the S2 intel staff, who responded with a 25%, 75% in favor of pleasure, depending upon his state of inebriation at the time. Well, since there was no consensus, the colonel turned to the PFC, who was in charge of making the coffee that morning, and asked for the private's opinion. And without any hesitation, the private said, "Sir, it has to be 100% pleasure." Well, the colonel was quite surprised, as you might guess, and he asked the private, why was it 100% pleasure? The PFC said, "Well, sir, if work involved, the officers would have me doing it for them." Well, the room fell silent, and the colonel turned to me and he said, "Sergeant Major, let's get this private promoted to Specialist 4. Then the commander turned back to his staff and he said, "Gentlemen, watch your back." Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, thank you. We do have a few guests here today that I would like to recognize. Fran Smith. Fran, raise your hand over here. Fran, you're escorting Howard here today, is that correct?
Yes.
And you guys are Apache Junction residents, and as I recall, I think that Howard is a United States Navy veteran.
250.
250th. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we're glad to have you out with us today, friend. Is this really your first time here? I thought that you had joined Howard on a previous occasion.
Oh,
No?
no, I haven't been over. It's not easy for me to make something at 7:15 in the morning. I wasn't in the service, so I don't rally
But
very
I fully
well.
understand that because you're married to a Navy guy. They never made time anyhow.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Fran, we're glad to have you with us today.
Well, thank you.
And then we have Ted Grimal with us today. Ted, will you stand, please? Ted is a constable for Pinal County, and he's a Gold Canyon resident over there, a United States Navy vet. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What'd you do in the Navy, Ted? What was your job in the Navy?
I was a radioman third class back in the 80s,
Okay, and what years did you serve?
87 to 91.
87 to 91.
Part of Desert Shield. We were the first there in theater on the USS Independence. When Iraq took Kuwait, the captain came on the 1MC and said, gents, we just received President's orders to go in and stop Iraq from invading Saudi Arabia next. So they had already taken Kuwait. And so we were the first there, and it was a privilege. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your service. Nicole, is this Ponce? Nicole.
I'm back in.
Pogue, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Nicole, we're glad to have you with us today. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are the chief executive for Azura. Is that correct?
Yes, we're rebranding. We are Arizona's Veteran Resource Center.
Now, Arizona Veterans Resource Center.
Under my command, yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about what your organization does.
We are the one-stop shop in Arizona, the only place that you can walk into and get all of your services provided for you in-house. Community affiliates, all of our organizations and partners in the area that are veteran advocates, veteran agencies. When you walk in our door, we don't say no. So if you want to get your services, your benefit claims started, if you need a job, if you need utility assistance, or if you just want to come hang out and do some yoga, tai chi, meditation, you want to play guitars.
Superb.
Yeah, we do all the things there, and we have a good time. And we're moving, so yeah, we have a lot of things coming down the pipeline.
Thank you for joining us today. We want to learn more about your organization. Also, Sally Williams, raise your hand, Sally. Sally is
I think you may. Can you stand?
Sally is accompanied by her husband Russ. Now, Russ Williams is Bob Williams' brother, and Russ joined us here a few weeks ago with, and there were three of the Williams brothers that were here. Russ came back with his wife Sally, who I had a chance to meet earlier this week. And I want to just take a second and relay a story, if I may, Sally.
Absolutely.
You can be seated.
Okay, thank you.
Because I've got a story I want to tell. So I have something interesting about Sally's family I want to share with you. Sally's great-grandfather was a Medal of Honor recipient. Private Nathaniel McLean Gwynn of Urbana, Ohio, born July 5, 1849, was an American soldier who fought in the American Civil War. He enlisted in the Army in Fairmount, Missouri, and Private Gwynn was honored with the Medal of Honor on January 27, 1865. And I want to read the citation. The President of the United States of America, in the name of Congress, takes pleasure in presenting the Medal of Honor to Private Nathaniel McLean Gwynn, United States Army, for extraordinary heroism on 30 July 1864 while serving with Company Hotel 13th Ohio Volunteer Cavalry Regiment in action in the Battle of Crater at Petersburg, Virginia. When about entering upon the charge, Private Gwynn, then but 15 years old, was cautioned not to go in as he had not been mustered. He indignantly protected and participated in the charge, his left arm being crushed by a shell and amputated soon afterward. Nathaniel Gwynn died on January 6, 1883 at only 33 years of age. He's buried at the Union Cemetery in Kansas City, Missouri. Sally, since its creation in 1861, there have been only 3,536 Medal of Honor recipients. I'm sure you take great pride in knowing your great-grandfather is in great company. Thank you for joining us. May I have a hoo-ah for our first-time guest? Thank you, thank you. You know, I want to take this opportunity to recognize three of our longtime Red Friday members whose support and promotion of our program goes back to the very first year of our existence in 2019. They have been devout attendees and have volunteered their service on numerous occasions throughout their tenure with our Patriots group. In fact, in more recent months, you've often observed them sliding through this side door, coming into the dining room, toting tripods, pulling carts full of audio-video camera equipment, cables, all sorts of miscellaneous stuff to support our audio-visual capabilities here. And they do this every week without supervision, in many cases, of their chief cook and bottle washer, Larry Smith. When the meetings are dismissed, they quietly disassemble all the recording equipment. They do it in an orderly fashion. They pack it, they load it up, they slide out to load the stuff up in their vehicle with little fanfare for the tremendous job that they perform for us. And although two of these gentlemen are not veterans of the armed forces, they are the epitome of what might be expected of an American patriot. And they hold our military in the highest regard and profoundly demonstrate their support for those who wear the cloth of our nation. I would ask that Peter Camper, Dwayne Evanson, and Fred Hammond come forward, please. Gentlemen, on behalf of this Red Friday Patriots group, I want to take this opportunity to finally present you with this very coveted Red Friday lapel pin. And we certainly hope that you will wear this with pride, and we know that you will. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Fred. There you go. Looks good. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Richard. May I have a hoo-ah for these gentlemen? Hoo-ah! Thank you, thank you. You know, more recently, I've been searching for a means of highlighting the tremendous versatility of the United States Navy's warfighting capabilities, and believe me, the Navy's arsenal is extensive. As a fighting force, the Navy is capable on land and sea and air, and the branch has proven their battle skills and lethality time and time and time again throughout its 250-year history. Well, my search was concluded when I found a video that superbly demonstrates the lethality I referred to. And I will say that if this video doesn't get your heart rate up, then I suppose you ain't breathing. This is Andy Moore's production of a Navy tribute called Hell Yeah. Can I have a hell yeah for our Navy? Hell yeah. So at the very beginning of that, you saw the phrase non sibi sed patriae. What does that mean? Latin. Anybody? Navy? Navy motto, not for self, but for country. Last Monday, October 13, America celebrated the birthday of the United States Navy, founded by the Continental Congress on October 13, 1775. 250 years ago. Turn me up a little bit there. 250 years ago. What a phenomenal contribution this branch of service has made to the defense of this country throughout its glorious history. As our Red Friday Patriots group prepared to celebrate this historical milestone, it became apparent that the celebration would not be complete without highlighting a bit of naval history. And we needed a tenured representative of the Navy, a been there, done that type of voice of experience, to share with us a little of the history of the United States Navy, its feats, and the legacy of this phenomenal branch. Well, today, I have the pleasure of introducing such a spokesperson, our guest speaker, a 20-year veteran of the United States Navy, Dennis Gardner. Dennis was born in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and he grew up in Southern California. 1977, age 21, he enlisted in the United States Navy, and while in boot camp, he volunteered for submarine service. And he received his Dolphins Warfare Badge in 1978 for having completed the qualification process for submarines. Now, Dennis had officially qualified as a submariner, or what is affectionately known as a bubblehead. Qualifying for the Dolphins Warfare Badge entails a rigorous year-long process of studying and testing on all aspects of submarine systems, and the badge is certainly a source of significant pride within the Silent Service. During his 20 years of honorable serving our country, Dennis was assigned to 4 submarines and served as a weapon system fire control technician, responsible for all operational and administrative aspects of a submarine's computer and control mechanisms for its weapon systems. During his Navy tenure, he deployed to support Operation Desert Storm as a crew member on USS Louisville. On the opening night of Desert Storm, January 17, 1991, USS Louisville launched a Tomahawk cruise missile at Iraqi targets, marking the first time a United States submarine had fired a weapon in combat since 1945, and the first time a Tomahawk cruise missile had been fired in combat. Following his retirement from the Navy in 1997, Dennis pursued a career as a test technician building DC power supplies, ultimately working as a process technician at Intel Chandler from 2006 to 2017. Beginning in 2015, Dennis served as a veteran volunteer with the Joe Foss Institute, speaking to over 10,000 students in Valley schools and recruiting World War II and Korean War veterans to share their stories with these students. The Institute, headquartered in Scottsdale, was founded in 2001 by General Joseph J. Foss to promote civic education in the United States. The Institute offers educational programs for youth groups and public school students, and also awards scholarships to students who win video and essay competitions. In November 2019, the Joe Foss Institute merged with the Arizona State University's School of Civic and Economic Thought and Leadership. The Institute's initiatives and programs have been integrated into the Center for American Civics, which is part of ASU's School of Civic Economic Thought and Leadership. Dennis also served as a volunteer with the Southern Arizona of the Missing in America Project, which locates unclaimed veteran remains and provides burial services with military honors. He's been a member of the American Legion since 2014, including 2 years as commander of Post 97, Santan Valley. Dennis is currently serving as Post 97's Veteran Service Officer, assisting veterans and their families. I might also add that Dennis was inducted into the Arizona Veterans Hall of Fame Society in 2019, a much-deserved honor. Here to share his story as a U.S. Navy submariner, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dennis Gardner.
Good morning. Happy belated birthday to all my shipmates out there. And for the Marines, happy birthday. It was a pleasure being your Uber driver. So I'm going to do a two-part. First, I'm going to go through a little bit of the history of the Navy. When the Navy was founded, it was huge. They had 3 ships, a total of 18 cannon. And we took on the largest and most powerful Navy in the world. When the Congress founded and established the Navy, they commissioned 8 ships. We currently have over 800. When I retired from the submarine service, we were just short of President Reagan's goal of having 200 submarines. And then I'm going to talk about some of the terms that you'll hear sailors use. 21-gun salute. Everybody knows that. The Navy started that. It was actually several different pieces to it. Admirals got 17 guns. Vice Admirals got 15. Rear Admirals got 13. And Rear Admirals' lower half got 11. Not that you could really tell when those things went off how many there were, but side boys. Back in the 1800s, officers weren't necessarily from a service academy. In English and French navies, your rank was determined by how much you could pay the crew. Also, those guys were not within weight specs. And typically, the higher their rank, the bigger they got. The side boy's job was to help lower them up and down from the skiff. That's why admirals got more side boys than commanders. Tattoos. Sailors are famous for their tattoos. They all mean something. A turtle signifies that you're a shellback. Means you crossed the equator and made it back alive. In the old sailing days, that was a big deal because there's no winds across the equator. Nowadays, with nuclear-powered ships, it's not as big a deal, but it's still honored. A dragon, typically gold, means you cross the international date line heading west, entering the realm of the golden dragon. The shipmates out here that are on surface ships, they had an opportunity to become a golden dragon, crossing the international date line at the equator. You'll never find a submariner that's going to admit that they're a golden dragon, because that pinpoints our location, and we never do that. Polar bear is blue nose. You cross the Arctic Circle. When I was in, we were 2 miles from the Arctic Circle following a Soviet submarine, and he turned. We never got to cross the line. I asked if I could shoot him. The captain said no. The best one is a pig and a rooster tattooed on your ankles. It means you won't drown if your ship goes down, which is confusing because neither of those two animals can swim. But it goes back to the old days when they were bringing supplies to the colonies, and those animals were always in wooden crates that floated. So the pig and rooster are going to save your life if your ship goes down. Earrings. If you wear an earring in your right ear, that means you're a shellback. If you wear one in your left ear, you survived the shipwreck. If you see a sailor that's got 3 or 4 in his left ear, don't go to sea with him. All right. Can I start? Oh, there it is. Okay. So as my introduction said, 20 years in the Navy. My plan was to go into the Navy for 4 years, get out, use the GI Bill, and get a college degree in computer electronics. I was having so much fun, I stayed. Oh, yeah. 250 years. Submarine Force is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. In reality, we had a submarine, technically, during the Revolution. It was a large barrel that had a guy in it, and a hand crank propeller, and a harpoon. Attached to that harpoon was a keg of black powder. And his plan was to stick that into the side of a British ship, light the fuse, and quickly crank his way away. The keg didn't blow up. Apparently you can't put those in the water. The boats I served on, USS Patrick Henry up in the front, ballistic missile submarine, 2 crews. They did that to keep the ship at sea as much as possible. So we lived in Hawaii, and after 3 months, we would fly to Guam. The day after we got there, the submarine would pull in. We'd meet with the other crew, the blue crew, do a turnover. They would leave for Hawaii, and we'd stay there for 3 weeks doing maintenance, and then take that submarine back out. Kept those missiles on station as much as possible. Still doing that today. The last time a ballistic missile submarine schedule changed was the 6-day war. Their schedule never changes because they got to get that maintenance done on those boats. And the crew, the blue crew gets the boat for 95 days and the gold crew gets it for 105. The difference is so that Christmas moves. We also used to joke that if you're home when your wife has a baby, it's not yours. But the problem with those is they hide with pride. They do nothing. They drive at 3 knots in circles, hiding. And as a fire controlman, that's about the most boring job in the world. So I re-enlisted and went to attack submarines. That's when I went to the Haddock, the one on the right. 594 class attack submarine. Originally, that was the 593 class. The 593 was the Thresher. And apparently, if you sink, you can't be first of the class. We had valves on board that said Thresher. And to give you some history on that, when she imploded, she was at 2,233 feet. From there, I went to instructor duty at submarine school in Connecticut. I taught approach and attack, target motion analysis, and weapons employment. I taught officer submarine school. You notice they've been helping me up and down off this platform. I got a bad back, and I'm starting to have balance issues, and that's because I fell while I was teaching at submarine school. I was taking my class over to the simulators. When I got back out there the next day, I killed them. When I left there, I went to the USS Sargo in Hawaii, the oldest submarine I was on. This submarine surfaced at the North Pole in the winter in 1956. And pretty much ever since then, every year we send an attack submarine to the North Pole. It's the fastest way to get those scientists that want to do measurements up there. That sail, the vertical part of a submarine, is designed to go through 4 feet of ice. After a tour as a Submarine Squadron 7 tactical officer, I went to the USS Louisville and took her to Desert Storm. This was my office. The picture on the right is the fire control system that we maintained. On the right is the torpedo monitoring system down in the torpedo room. I had a division, my guys, I had 9 people. The crew on a submarine is 130. Sonar. This is where the magic happens. These guys listen to the ocean. They can tell how many blades are on a propeller. They can tell you what kind of ship it is just by listening to it. They can tell you whether it's shrimp, a whale, or fish. And they're getting better at determining what kind of fish, just by listening to them. And when you hear these guys sitting in there, one of them is on what we call the stacks listening. You're not allowed to listen for more than 15 minutes. Then you have to have somebody take over. Otherwise, you stop hearing. And you'll see that person, they'll be having a conversation about absolutely nothing, best barbecue sauce or something. And their hand will start moving in a circle. They hear a ship. For some reason, one blade of every propeller sounds different than the rest. And they just pick the rhythm up. They start counting. They watch the clock. And after 15 seconds, they take that number, multiply it by 4, and now they have RPM on that propeller. They have a sheet that tells them if it's this kind of ship, you divide by this number, and that's their speed. And they give that to me. And I do the rest. World War II, for over half the war, our torpedoes did not work. It took us a long time, and when you go to submarine school, the buildings back there are all named after Medal of Honor winners that figured out what was wrong with it. When you fired the Mark 14 torpedo, as it ran, a plunger came out of the front of it. And when it hit the ship, that plunger is supposed to set off the explosion. The metal was too soft, and it was mushrooming. It wasn't returning. These guys at sea removed that plunger, shaved it down to a 45-degree angle, and then put it back in the torpedo so that it wouldn't mushroom when it hit the Japanese ship. We end up sinking 5 million tons of Japanese shipping. The surface and Air Force of the Navy sunk 3 million. And their stuff worked from the beginning. This is my other office. Once you get to E6, first class petty officer, you start standing chief of the watch, the guy on the left there. That is the ballast control panel. That person is in charge of keeping us level. We make 400 gallons of fresh water an hour. And fresh water weighs different than seawater. Plus, the tanks are in different places. So he's moving water around to keep us balanced all the time. The young lady is on the planes there. We have 2 people, one on the stern planes, one on the fair water. The fair water is the ones up on top. They're to fine-tune our depth. And that person also has our helm, our course. The stern planes is our angle. So she's concentrating on a level, literally a bubble in a tube to make sure we're level. I was relating a story to some of the people earlier. When we get a depth order, the guy behind her is the diving officer. The diving officer is allowed to take a 5-degree angle up to a maximum of 20 degrees based on the depth order change, unless it's within an hour of meal time. So I was on the dive. I was given a large depth order. I looked at the clock. It was an hour and a half to meal. I took 20-degree down angle and broke every plate in the wardroom. They had set up early and didn't tell us. And the cook was livid. He comes up, starts yelling. The captain steps in, yells at him for not doing it, not letting us know. And it was tense for the rest of the patrol. For a while there, the wardroom was using paper plates. I was the diving officer when we entered the Persian Gulf the first time submerged. As soon as we made that turn on the Straits of Hormuz, the salinity of the water changed drastically. And I had to bring in 63,000 pounds of water to stay submerged. The crew, like I said, is 130. Right now, all of our submarines are nuclear powered. We did have a few diesel electric submarines, and there's still talk about bringing them back because they are so quiet until they light that diesel off to charge their batteries. Unclassified depth, we do greater than 800 feet. Greater than 25 knots. When I was on the Louisville, we crossed the Pacific and the Red Sea in 19 days. The Mark 48 torpedo is our primary weapon. It's been around for decades. It's a 3,600-pound weapon, and it will lift a 36,000-ton ship out of the water and snap it in half. Harpoon missile is a 70-mile range cruise missile, anti-ship. And then there's the Tomahawk. There's 4 variants of the Tomahawk. That's why Putin is saying they can't tell the difference. One is a nuke, 400 kilotons. The Harpoon missile, like I had mentioned, or the Tomahawk does have an anti-ship version we're bringing back because of the Chinese. The sea version is a single 1,000-pound warhead with a 400-mile range. Most of the stuff I fired during Desert Storm were those. And they were accurate to within 7 feet after 400 miles. Now they have GPS. The last one is the D. The Airedales loved that weapon. It was a runway killer. It carried 166 bomblets. It could seek out a runway, fly down the runway, throwing these things out, putting a 1-foot diameter, 1-foot deep hole every 2 feet. So the plan during Desert Storm is we would launch this after the planes left the carrier. They would cross over into Saudi Arabia, go to altitude, meet the tanker, and while they were gassing up, they could see the missiles going underneath them. And the missiles would go in and knock out the closest airfield to where their targets were, so that nobody could get off the ground to come after them. This is the first Tomahawk of Desert Storm, taken through the periscope. This is a short video I found of what it's like to be on an attack submarine. 1 or 2 instruments. This is a Virginia class. Watertight doors, the escape trunk. Escape trunk is there for our parents, just to make them feel good. You ain't getting out. This is the emergency blow system. This came about because of the Thresher. We still don't know exactly why she sunk, but she didn't have this system. We can put a submarine on the surface in 3 seconds. That's the Mark 48 torpedo. That's the Harpoon cruise missile. And the next video is the USS Hawkbill surfacing at the North Pole. One of the first people up on board is up on the sail, up in the cockpit. It's one of our sharpshooters. He pushes that ice off, gets up into the cockpit, and he's up there in case the polar bears come to visit. There's a video of the USS Louisville surfacing that the 3 polar bears got interested in what was going on and came over to look at the rudder. But they don't let the rest of the crew out until he's sure there's no bears up there. You're a family when you're at sea. Surface ships are the same way. It's just they're a much bigger family. 130. We used to play pranks on each other like you would not believe. We took a guy's birthday away. We realized it was his birthday coming up. We were heading west. We weren't far from the international date line. So we're standing at the chart trying to figure out whether we're ahead of him or not enough that we could do it. And behind us, the captain walked up. He says, "What are you guys doing?" We told him. He looked at the chart, called the navigator, and said, "I want to stop here." And we hovered next to the international date line for 9 hours. And exactly at midnight, we crossed the international date line and took his birthday away. And just to make it even more fun, the next day, plan of the day had the results of his captain's mast where his birthday was taken away. We also had one of our guys convinced he was dying. At sea, we wore a one-piece jumpsuit. It's blue, and we wore tennis shoes. That's our uniform at sea. Can't make noise. You're in an 18-hour rotation. You stand watch for 6 hours, you're off for 12. In those 12, you're working on qualifications, studying for advancement, doing maintenance, all the other stuff, and trying to get some sleep. Every time he went to sleep, we took his poopy suit down, moved everything over to another one that was a half size bigger. So every 18 hours, his clothes were getting baggier. He was working out. He was eating all 4 meals a day, complaining to the corpsman he was dying, never once stepped on a scale. Not once. Till the corpsman finally came to us and said, "You got to stop this." We'd gotten up 2.5 sizes on his poopy suit. So the other thing is, I mentioned talking to the captain routinely. Some of you other sailors here, you probably hardly ever saw the captain, depending on the ship you're on. An aircraft carrier, You may never see the captain your entire, other than your check-in and your check-out. But our crew, we were so small, the captain was walking the boat every day, 3 or 4 times a day. He saw the entire crew. And it was a unique experience. There was a few times that he would walk in on conversations we weren't necessarily supposed to let him hear. We were up on the way to Desert Storm. We were up getting our over-the-horizon targeting, and he was standing behind me, and he looked down and says, "Chief, what's this line on your screen?" I said, "Oh, that's the max range on the nukes. We cross that, we can start shooting." He says, "Take that off there." But it was fun. I've been to 20 countries, crossed the equator 4 times, crossed the international date line 6. And the support we got from groups like this is unbelievable. It makes such a difference. When they started naming submarines after cities, a lot of cities stepped up. City of Louisville, every year, our captain, our Cobb, our Command Master Chief, and our Sailor of the Year and their wives were flown to the Kentucky Derby every year. One year we were in Japan, and they flew them all the way from Japan to Kentucky. The crew that actually made out the best was the Pasadena. They manipulated their schedule so that they were in Los Angeles every year. 3 officers and 3 enlisted were chosen, and they were the escorts for the Rose Queen and her court to all the parties. And then the crew rode on the float in the parade. And everybody that didn't have duty had tickets to the Rose Bowl. Getting on the Pasadena was hard. We do have one submarine, though, that doesn't get a lot of attention. Currently, it's Jimmy Carter. They're called projects. The cooks on board that submarine have top secret clearances because they know their schedule. I applied. Now, at the time, I had a top secret clearance. I carried the keys to the nukes, and I applied to go to the Parchie, the current projects boat. I was not allowed to because I was married to a Canadian. They said no foreign nationals. It's like, it's Canada. They're like our sister. You know, it's like, nope, couldn't go. They did stuff that Tom Clancy would only dream of. The USS Halibut, at the height of the Cold War, found the phone line between Petropavlovsk on the Kamchatka Peninsula to Vladivostok, sent divers into the water and put a tap on it. And every 6 months they went back and changed the tape. After 5 years, they went there to change the tape, and it was gone. Soviets never once said anything about it. It's in the KGB museum, open. Maybe they didn't know it was us, other than the little plaque inside that said, "Made by AT&T for the United States Navy." We recorded all their phone conversations for years. And I think it was more that they were embarrassed than anything else. The thing that we did that I loved the most, I only got to do 3 of them, was called a delouse. When a Soviet attack submarine found one of our boomers and started trailing them, we had to get them off of them. We would rendezvous with them. We'd get there an hour early, go deep, and go ultra quiet. That submarine disappears. If you're not on watch, you're in your bunk. We turned fans off. We turned everything off we didn't absolutely need and sat there. As the boomer approached, they'd have somebody in the engine room with a wrench. They would start hitting a pipe in a rhythm. As they passed us, we would slide in between them and the Soviet, pick up that rhythm, come out of ultra quiet, and they would go down into ultra quiet. They would make a turn, we would turn the opposite way and pull the Soviet with us. Attack boats are different from boomers in another aspect. The boomers don't have active sonar, the pinging you hear in the movies. We did. So after about 3 hours, so we knew our guy was gone, we would spin around and go active so that they knew they had an attack submarine on them. We chased one guy from the Gulf of Alaska all the way to the Sea of Japan. So it was a lot of fun. Playing with the Soviets was always fun. We had one time we were up watching what they were doing, and there was this light configuration. It was still dark. We could not really identify. We didn't know what it was. The intel officer on board came up. He looked at it. He didn't know what it was. Sonar only had an anchor chain and a diesel generator. That's all I could hear. So the captain says, sunrise is in an hour and a half. I want to be on the east side of this thing. I want pictures of it. If we don't know what it is, I want pictures. Hour and a half later, we're on the east side of it, so the sun's behind us. I'm taking pictures. We still don't know what it is. Intel officer comes up, looks at it, yells, "Get the hell out of here now, run." We went deep, took off. After everything settled down, the captain looked at him and said, "What is that, and why am I running away from it?" He says, "It's a target barge." 2 hours later, they put a missile into it. But we were able to get between them and the launcher and stole the telemetry data.
Dennis, thank you for that outstanding overview on your specialty, submarines, and thank you for your 20 years of service. On behalf of our group, I would like to present you with this certificate welcoming you to the Order of the R.E.D. Hereby recognize and commend Dennis Gardner, US Navy retired, for his honorable military service, your veteran support initiatives, and support of the East Valley Red Friday Patriots. Thank you. One further thing, I would like to also take this opportunity to pin you with this Red Friday lapel pin, and thank you for making the arrangements to come here and address our group today. How many presentations do you think that you have made over the years to all these students in this area?
Hundreds. I have 3 schools already lined up for Veterans Day.
Superb. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to leave you this pen.
And on that note, I want to say something about that. Speaking in the schools is important. The schools want you. We bring a wealth of information and a wealth of knowledge to the schools. What we try to emphasize is not so much getting the kids to join the military, but explaining how they're going to use what they're learning right there in the future. Everything I did in the Navy was geometry. In World War II, they had 2 protractors and 3 rulers attached to each other, and that's what we were using to sink submarine or ships. You have knowledge, share it. These kids are thirsty. There's also a lot of other organizations out there, the Arizona branch of the Law for Kids. We were speaking to the DAR ladies about this. They have programs for these kids that teaches them public speaking. It teaches them the Constitution and how to look into the Constitution and understand it. Get into these schools. They want you. They are always looking for speakers, and especially our female veterans. The biggest story that they get, I have a friend of mine, she's a 26-year Air Force veteran, 5 combat tours. She was aviation electronics. And her talk centers around, it's okay for girls to be smart. You know, doing technical stuff well ahead of what anybody else is doing. And so think about it. Look into your local schools. They are hungry for this. The Queen Creek Junior High, the day before Veterans Day this year, I'm going to be there for the 4th time in 4 years in a row, and we are setting the POW MIA table and explaining what everything on that table means. So it doesn't have to be branch specific. This is basic patriotism. You all know it. You're doing it as is. Desert Storm. I had the duty on Christmas. We were leaving the next morning. 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I got a call from the topside watch, and he says, they just dropped off another tri-wall. It's a 4-foot by 4-foot by 4-foot box. We went up there, cut the bands. It was Girl Scout cookies. I still don't know how many cookies are in that box. Captain comes in the next morning and says, Chief, why is there a box on my pier? Told him what was in it. We had quarters on the pier, the whole crew was there, and when he dismissed us, he says, everybody is grabbing 6 boxes of cookies. We're not leaving a damn cookie on this pier.
Can I have a Navy hoo-yah for this one? Thank you, thank you, thank you. This time, I would like to ask that all U.S. Navy veterans present to please stand. If you are a United States Navy veteran, please stand. Please make your way up to the front and stand in front of this podium. To all of our Navy veterans, we wish to sincerely thank you for your honorable service to our beloved country. This special occasion marking your branch of service 250th year anniversary is truly a memorable event. It's an opportunity for all Americans to express our immense pride in the role that our United States Navy has played in protecting our freedom for 2½ centuries. Through your honorable service, each of you Navy veterans have contributed in that role, and we are forever grateful for your service and your personal sacrifice. We wish to present each of you a United States Navy 250th anniversary lapel pin as a memento of this historic celebration, and thank you for your selfless service. Stand by. May I have a hoo-yah for these veterans? To each of you sailors, thank you for serving our country. May I have a round of applause for these folks as well? Thank you, gentlemen. You may be seated. And ladies, I do have a few announcements that I might like to make before we dismiss. I'm hoping that more of you have gotten on board in assisting our Apache Trail Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, with their 100X fund drive. As we've stated before, the 100X program is one of only a very few programs that helps fund the chapter in their support of missions which include our Red Friday program, active duty military, as well as veteran initiatives. If you have yet to go online and complete a few surveys, let me tell you that it requires nothing of you other than a small portion of your time. All you're doing is completing really, really simple smiley face online surveys of companies you deal with each and every day. You're not required to write anything about the companies. You click on a company, then just click on a couple of smiley faces about what you like or dislike about the company, and that's it. Would you believe that each survey that you complete takes only 60 seconds? And for every survey you complete, the DAR chapter earns $1.60. So please, get with Sarah, Kelly, Karen after the meeting, learn how simple the process really is, and help our DAR members fund their chapter. Also, our Red Friday group has registered to participate in the All-American Veterans Day Parade scheduled for Tuesday morning, November 11 in Apache Junction. And we will have 2 red vehicles participating in the parade, as well as our volunteers who will walk the short parade route. Additionally, we've secured a 24-passenger van and driver to transport our parade group to and from the parade staging areas. And this will be our group's first year to participate in the Apache Junction Veterans Day Parade. So we need volunteers to join us for the event, both walkers and the folks that may have limitations on their mobility. We'll certainly have room for you in the vehicles to progress through that parade route. Also, another reminder, we have numerous guest speakers scheduled for the remainder of this year, so please plan to attend and support them. We have speakers scheduled for October 31, November 7, November 14, November 21, December 5, and December 19. We have other speakers being pursued for some of the other open dates for this year and for the first quarter of 2026. Speaking of upcoming assemblies, please mark this mid-November date as a must-attend, Friday, November 14. I'd like for Kelly McDonald, the regent for our local Daughters of the American Revolution chapter, to take a moment and tell you what we have in store for you for November 14. Kelly?
As we celebrate the 250th birthdays of the Army, Navy, and Marine Corps, the Daughters of the American Revolution join fellow patriotic organizations in honoring this milestone. Our Red Friday group will host a special birthday celebration, as Dick mentioned, on November 14th during our regular breakfast meeting. However, in addition to our usual breakfast, the event will feature guest speakers, birthday messages from each service branch, cake, photos, and a few surprises that make the occasion truly memorable. Free tickets are going to be distributed to those who would like to go. And I would say Hank and I will help distribute those to those here who will plan to go. And this is, you don't pay for those tickets, they are free, but this is to help us ensure that we have the correct head count and that we can accommodate the people who want to come. So when you come on the 14th, you will still need to make your normal breakfast payment at the day of the event. But we think this is going to be truly a remarkable meeting, as so many have been, but we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So thank you, and we look forward to celebrating this remarkable milestone together.
I would like to re-emphasize, this is Friday, November 14, mid-November. No complications around a specific holiday like Thanksgiving. If you intend to come and you are sure you're going to come, please get a ticket. If you're not quite sure yet, then wait and pick up a ticket just a little bit later, next couple of weeks, and that way we get an accurate head count. I encourage you, bring a spouse, a friend, or a neighbor. We anticipate well over 150 in attendance for this event. We do want to remind you that this American Legion, Post 27, has graciously allowed us the use of this fine assembly hall for our Red Friday meetings. And the Legion charges us nothing for its use. Absolutely nothing. They staff their kitchen on Friday mornings much earlier than any other day of the week just for this Red Friday group. On every day of the week other than Friday, their doors don't open until 8:30. On Friday, the Legion's doors are open at 6 a.m., specifically for this Red Friday Patriots group. And the kitchen staff is on duty much earlier to start preparation for our breakfast meal. So, in my humble opinion, the absolute least we as Red Friday members can do in demonstrating our gratitude for this fine dining hall is to purchase their breakfast meal every Friday. Regardless of whether you have already eaten breakfast before you arrive here, or regardless of whether you're not one to eat breakfast, please, upon arrival here each Friday morning, pay for a breakfast meal. If you don't wish to eat it here, take it home. If you don't want to take it home, there are plenty of homeless folks out there that would appreciate a meal. And if you simply can't afford it, that's okay. Get with me, call me, email me, text me, let me know. I will gladly and unhesitatingly prepay your breakfast meal every week if you can't afford it. We want your presence and we want your support. We'll not allow the cost of a breakfast meal to deter your participation in the important mission of Red Friday. And as a final reminder, please leave your name badges at the greeting desk upon your departure. The badges and the smiling faces of our Red Friday greeters will be awaiting your arrival next week and have your badge in hand. To our guests, thank you for joining us today, and we sincerely hope that you will return to share in our camaraderie and support our mission. Please know that you'll always be welcome at our Red Friday assemblies. And as a final reminder, let's not overlook the importance of our Red Friday mission to keep our deployed warfighters in our thoughts and prayers and continue to demonstrate our support for these fine men and women. Please enjoy your weekend.